The stomach is a J-shaped organ found in our digestive system. It is a bag of muscle where the food we consume is stored. The stomach produces hydrochloric acid and an enzyme called pepsin to break down food so that it can pass to the small intestine. It holds a crucial role within the GI tract as it serves as the initial point for processing all ingested substances. It is located on the upper abdomen on the left side of the body. The top part of the stomach connects to a valve called the esophageal sphincter, the muscle at the end of your esophagus. And the bottom part of the stomach connects to your small intestine.
Hi, I'm Xin Yan. I will be talking about the anatomy of stomach. The stomach is located in the human body left of the midline and centrally in the upper area of the abdomen. The stomach is a large, muscular, and hollow organ, allowing for the capacity to hold food. It is comprised of four main regions, which are the cardia, fundus, body, and the pylorus. Now, let's move on to the anatomical of stomach. First, the cardia. Cardia is the top part of stomach. It is connected to the esophagus. It contains cardiac sphincter, which prevents stomach content from traveling back up to the esophagus. Next, the fundus. Fundus follows the cardia and is a bulbous, dome-shaped superior portion of stomach. It is located below diaphragm. The dome-shaped muscle help in breathing. Next, the body of stomach is followed by the fundus. It is the largest portion and main part of stomach. Food is mixed when stomach contracts, and the breakdown process is begin here. Last, the pylorus. Pylorus is the bottom part of the stomach. It is a funnel-shaped distal, a thicker circular layer of smooth muscle known as pyloric sphincter regulates the passing of food from the pylorus into the duodenum. Pylorus is divided into two regions, which are pyloric antrum and pyloric canal. The pyloric antrum is the wider and more proximal of the two regions connecting to the body of stomach. Pyloric canal being the distal portion connecting to the duodenum. At the end of the pyloric canal is the pyloric orifice, marking the junction between the stomach and the duodenum. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thubayta and I'm going to talk about the histology of the stomach. So before we begin, we're going to have a look at the layers of the stomach. So before we begin, to go in detail, we'll first start with the villi. Just like the small intestines, the stomach contains villi as well that's used for absorption. And to begin with, we have the first layer of the stomach called mucosa. Mucosa is packed with gastric glands and pits, and it has a noticeable layer of smooth muscle called muscularis mucosa located just below it. The contraction of the muscularis mucosa helps remove the contents of the gastric glands. The second layer of the stomach is called submucosa. Submucosa is a thick layer of loose connective tissue that surrounds the mucosa. And the third layer is called muscularis externa. It has three layers of muscle: an inner oblique layer, a middle circular layer, and an external longitudinal layer. The combined contraction of these three muscles aid in the breaking up of food. As we can see, the layers of the stomach also have connective tissues, such as submucosa artery and vein, and the lymphatic vessel that supports mucosa and joins mucosa to muscularis. And this is the microscopic view of the layers of the stomach. Again, we have the first layer, which is mucosa. We have the muscularis mucosa, the second layer, which is the submucosa, the third layer, muscularis propria or externa, that consist of inner oblique, middle circular, and outer longitudinal, and the last layer called serosa.
Hey guys, I'm Pavithren and today I'll be talking about pathology of stomach. When we think about stomach pathology, the first thing comes into my mind is gastritis. Have you guys ever wondered what is gastritis? So gastritis is inflammation and irritation of the stomach lining. It can be acute, which is sudden and severe, or chronic, which is long lasting. Here are the few causes which can cause gastritis. So the first will be intake of excessive alcohol, Helicobacter pylori infection, skip meal or starvation, and also intaking of spicy food. But today we're going to focus on how does Helicobacter pylori bacteria infects the stomach. So what is actually Helicobacter pylori? Helicobacter pylori is a bacteria which can cause swelling and redness, can lead to peptic ulcer or gastric ulcers. Fecal oral or oral transmission via food or water contamination is the main reason where Helicobacter pylori can affect the lining of the stomach. And finally, Helicobacter pylori is spiral-shaped gram-negative bacteria. How does Helicobacter pylori bacteria survive in stomach? As we know, stomach is where the acid is very high and the pH is low. Therefore, how does it survive? So Helicobacter pylori survives at antrum. As we know, stomach has four parts, which is cardia, fundus, body, and also antrum. Body and fundus mainly secrete gastric acid, but the antrum secretes the gastrin hormone, and mucus, which has a basic pH value due to the presence of bicarbonates. The mucosa of the antrum contains many gastric pits. Helicobacter pylori colonize these pits by adhering to the gastric epithelial cells. It is protected from above by the mucosa layer secreted by the antrum. Helicobacter pylori have an enzyme called urease. It converts urea into ammonia which neutralizes the acidity of gastric juice. Therefore, urease and the mucus secreted by the gastric antrum saves Helicobacter pylori from the gastric acid which is low in pH. The bacteria release various enzyme and cytotoxic proteins which damage the gastric epithelium and cause inflammation. The inflammation of the gastric mucosa is called gastritis. When the damage is so severe and breaks the entire mucosa, it is called peptic ulcer. If untreated, Helicobacter pylori can even cause gastric carcinoma, or which is known as stomach cancer.
My name is Azka and I'll be continuing where Pavithren left off. So, 80 to 90% of gastric ulcers result from Helicobacter pylori. These bacteria colonize about 45 to 50% of the stomach mucosa worldwide. They induce an inflammatory response in the host that leads to gastritis and eventually ulcers. These ulcers cause a burning type pain in the epigastric area of the abdomen. There are various symptoms that may show, like nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, indigestion, and also weight loss. Non invasive tests like urea breath test and stool antigen tests are reliable to detect H. pylori with good sensitivity and specificity. Invasive tests are done with upper GI endoscopy. Biopsy samples from the stomach lining are taken to carry out staining, culture, and biopsy urease tests. Of course, there are various treatments for H. pylori, like amoxicillin and metronidazole. The best one is said to be combining antibiotics with a proton pump inhibitor. And the precautions for H. pylori are practicing healthy lifestyle and good hygiene. Avoiding smoking and reducing alcohol consumption goes a long way in preventing this inflammatory response.
My name is Shaun and I'll be presenting the conclusion. So, the stomach is located between the esophagus and the small intestine, and it is an essential organ in the digestive system. It has four primary regions in the stomach: the cardia, the fundus, the body, and the pylorus. So, these regions perform vital tasks in food mixing, storage, and first digestion. It has specialized structures and cell types which are present in each zone. For example, the cardia and pyloric region contain mucus-secreting glands, while the fundus and body contain parietal chief and endocrine cells. In addition to producing mucus, hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen and gastrin, these cells also create other chemicals that aid in the breakdown of food and shield the stomach lining from self-digestion. Pathologically, the stomach lining is frequently affected by gastritis and peptic ulcers, which are frequently brought on by an imbalance between defensive and aggressive factors such as mucus and bicarbonate, and aggressive factors like stomach acid, pepsin, and H. pylori infection. One of the main causes of persistent inflammation and weakened stomach mucosal defenses is H. pylori. This imbalance causes ulceration and inflammation, which can contribute in bleeding and obstruction of the stomach outlet. Chronic gastritis increases the risk of stomach cancer since it can worsen and require medical attention. Thanks for listening to our explanation of the stomach.